Hi, my name's Peter Giannakis. I'm the hospitality coach, and today on Driving with Pete, I want to talk about saving on labour expenses. Now, we're not going to discuss much of what you find on the internet right now. We're not going to do the top 10 ways to save. We're going to go back to the fundamentals of saving on your labour costs. And it's a very common thing that I see, overstaffing. And today we're going to discuss how to manage your staffing levels. One of the biggest problems that I see within cafes and restaurants is the managers and owners not entirely understanding what is required of their staff in different areas. It's not uncommon for me to be speaking with a manager or an owner, and I hear things like, well, I'm not too sure what goes on in the kitchen. I leave that to my kitchen staff or my chef or my cook. Or I might hear someone say, I'm not too familiar with the point of sale and the service procedures out the front, so I tend to stay at the back of house or stay in the office. That's really not good enough when we're talking about running your business. And if you don't understand all elements of your business, all jobs that are essentially being undertaken within your cafe, there's no conceivable way that you can manage your labor levels. It really is a requirement when you're running a business in hospitality that you understand all areas. You know, we do not employ our staff to find cost-saving measures or put in place best practices. You know, you can't rely on your staff to do that. It's certainly not in their job description to do that, so it's just not going to happen. It really is up to you to find out what's required in certain areas and put together a process or a procedure that can be followed on a regular basis and which will ensure the greatest level of efficiency. You know, more staff in any given area does not necessarily translate to more efficient service. In actual fact, I've found it somewhat of a paradox, especially in the hospitality industry, that the more people that you employ in a particular area, the less efficient they are. I see it time and time again. Often as I consult or even in my own businesses, I'll ask managers to quite simply cut the labour component in a particular area in half. And that advice is often met with, open mouths. There's no conceivable way that we could cut our labour levels in half. And I'll just say to them, look, I don't know how you're going to do it. I don't care how you do it, but cut it in half and just see what happens. And I always get them coming back to me and saying, wow, it's amazing. What happened? They just ran so well. They managed it. And that is somewhat of a paradox, but I would encourage you to trial that, especially if you know that your labour costs have blown out. You need to get into those areas that you're unfamiliar with, and you need to learn those jobs. I'm not expecting you to take over those roles, but you need to know them. You need to know them inside out. You need to know what kind of preparation is involved day to day. I was at a cafe not long ago, and they were complaining that they simply couldn't afford the labour component to deliver the products that they wanted. And I looked at a lot of what they were doing. They were peeling carrots and pumpkins and potatoes and spending an awful lot of time doing that. And what they didn't realise was that their current fresh produce supplier could actually deliver a processed product that was peeled and cut. So that was going to save them a ridiculous amount of time, and the additional charge for that service was negligible. So there are always solutions to these problems, and there's always an easier way to do things. And surprisingly, what was the easiest way to do things 5 years ago isn't necessarily the easiest way to do things now. So we constantly have to revisit those things also. But again, if you don't take the time to move into those areas and find out what people are currently doing, you can't identify the inefficiencies. It's not uncommon for me to ask something of my staff, and my staff to say, look, I just can't do that, because we do that on a regular basis. We revisit processes and procedures within my businesses, and you know what, you're always going to be met with some level of resistance. We are creatures of comfort, and you know what, some of our best workers we source because they're human beings are repetitious by nature. So certain roles, we really want people that can do well with a certain level of repetition. So as much as we can get frustrated with that, I like to accept it and just know that I will be met with some level of resistance. But if I can lead by example, if I can show the new process and procedure, it's often met with a certain level of acceptance, which later on is completely accepted. Once it becomes part of the routine, it works. So you need to get into these roles and you need to find out, are we preparing food the wrong way? When I say prepare, the preparation for the day's trading, is that done in a certain manner that's just completely inefficient? You need to find out what's actually going on. And certainly if you don't know what's currently going on in a certain area, I dare say that you haven't implemented the correct processes and procedures. You probably do not have a training process which brings people in line with best practice within your working environment. So I think it's time that you decide to visit this and put the right processes and procedures in, and also know within yourself that you've observed the tasks that are being done, and to the best of your knowledge also they're being done very efficiently. So look, that concludes today's discussion regarding labour costs. Take the time and get to know your business a little bit better and go in there with fresh eyes. Try and find the better ways to do things. Speak with some of your suppliers for resources, and also speak to others that are currently doing what you're doing. I hope this has been helpful. I'm Peter Giannakis. This is the Hospitality Coach. For more information, jump on www.thehospitalitycoach.net, where I have a myriad of articles, and you can also contact me if you do have any questions. Thanks for listening today. Hope to speak to you again shortly.